A cold, silent void stretched across the edge of the Quran expanse. The stars twinkled faintly, but something unusual shimmered amidst the darkness. A faint signal pulsed through the emptiness, almost like a heartbeat. The alien crew of the reconnaissance ship Zephyr noticed it first. They had never seen a signal like this. It was old, ancient, even, but precise, calculated, and filled with an energy that felt dangerous. Commander Thaler leaned over the control panel, his multi-eyed gaze narrowing. "It's not a known frequency," he said, his voice tense. "No star charts mark this. It's human." The crew froze. Humans? That species had vanished from galactic records centuries ago. Myths called them extinct, weak, and primitive. Yet, here was undeniable proof that one of their remnants still existed. A warship, perhaps, or a trap. The very idea made the crew uneasy. Thaler activated the long-range scanners. "Bring us closer," he ordered. The ship hummed as it adjusted course, gliding toward the mysterious source. Shadows danced across the walls of the control room, their metallic surfaces reflecting the green glow of the screens. As they approached, the signal grew stronger, pulsing rhythmically. It was almost like a warning, a heartbeat calling out across the void. And then, the first glimpse appeared, a massive silhouette emerging from the dark expanse, far larger than any human ship they had imagined from their records. Lieutenant Vecca gasped, her claws gripping the railing. "It's enormous." The warship was unlike anything in the galaxy. Its surface shimmered with a strange, metallic hue, reflecting stars as if it were part of them. No alien race had built anything like it. Its structure was angular, yet organic, as if the ship itself was alive. The Zephyr felt tiny in comparison. Every sensor reading spiked off the charts. "Scan for weapons," Thaler commanded, his voice steady but tense. The sensors went wild. Energy readings far beyond any known technology pulsed from the human vessel. Shields. Weapons. The crew could not comprehend. "Commander, it's power, it's off the charts," Vecca stammered. Before anyone could react, the human ship moved. Not slowly, not cautiously. It accelerated in a flash, appearing almost on top of the Zephyr before they could even blink. Its engines emitted a quiet hum, smooth and controlled, unlike the noisy thrusters of alien technology. The Zephyr shuddered under the force of the unseen gravitational waves radiating from the human ship. Thaler's tentacles twitched nervously. "Signal them. Identify ourselves." The communication systems flared as they sent a standard greeting. No response. Only the pulse continued, growing louder, faster, like a warning beating in the void. Then, a shadow stretched across the Zephyr's view screen. The human warship had opened its weapon systems, though nothing fired, yet. The crew felt the threat in their bones, a cold, undeniable terror. "Commander, we need to retreat," Vecca said, panic rising in her voice. "No," Thaler replied, though his voice wavered. "We need answers. They might be extinct, but maybe they are not. Maybe they are something far worse." The human warship moved again, silently, faster than thought. It didn't just approach, they were surrounded by the size of its hull. And then, the first attack came, though it wasn't like anything they expected. A wave of energy radiated outward, and the Zephyr's shields screamed under the pressure. Panels melted, lights flickered, and the hull groaned like it had been crushed by an invisible hand. Crew members were thrown from their positions, clawed hands scrabbling for support. Thaler's multi-eyed gaze focused on the human vessel, trying to understand its movement, its intent. It was precise, controlled, devastating. No alien technology could produce such destructive efficiency. And yet, it did not seem indiscriminate. The human warship moved with strategy, as if it already knew every possible reaction before it happened. "Commander, we're losing systems. Shields failing." Vecca screamed. Thaler's mind raced. Every instinct told him to flee, to abandon the mission and survive. But something in the way the human ship moved, the way it pulsed with energy, demanded respect and fear. This was not a myth, not a relic. This was a living weapon, a predator of the stars. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the pulse stopped. The Zephyr floated in stunned silence, systems damaged but intact. The human warship remained at a distance, motionless, observing. It was a warning, clear and undeniable. Thaler realized in that moment that humans were not weak. Not at all. They were dangerous. Terrifyingly, unbelievably dangerous. And now, the crew of the Zephyr understood the truth. They were not exploring history. They were witnessing the return of a predator long thought gone. Thaler's tentacles curled tightly. "Set course back to the fleet," he ordered. His voice was calm, but every eye in the control room knew the same thing. The galaxy had just met something it could not fight, at least, not without paying a terrible price. As the Zephyr turned, the human warship vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only a trembling pulse in the void. And somewhere, deep within the crew, the knowledge settled. The encounter had ended. For them, in terror. But for the humans, the real story was only beginning. The Zephyr raced through the dark expanse, its damaged systems groaning with every movement. Commander Thaler's mind was a storm of confusion and fear. They had survived the encounter, but only barely. Every crew member knew they had glimpsed something far beyond their comprehension, a human warship, ancient yet terrifyingly alive with power. Lieutenant Vecca kept scanning, her multi-eyed gaze darting across the consoles. "Commander, I can't get a full reading on their technology. It's unlike anything we have ever seen. Shields, weapons, propulsion, it all defies logic." Thaler's tentacles twitched nervously. "We've underestimated them for too long," he admitted. "We assumed humans were extinct, weak. But they are neither. We've been lying to ourselves. And now, we've woken something that should have stayed buried." The Zephyr's communication systems crackled. A distress beacon pinged back from their fleet, but even as they tried to respond, the screens flickered. The human warship had vanished, leaving no trace of where it had gone. It was as if it had never existed, yet the memory of its attack lingered like a heavy shadow in the minds of the crew. Vecca's voice trembled. "Commander, what if there's more than one? What if the stories we've ignored for centuries are true?" Thaler didn't answer immediately. He stared into the void, his mind racing. The legends of humanity were filled with whispers of advanced warships, hidden fleets, and deadly tactics. Most alien species had dismissed them as myths, tales to scare children. But now, the reality of it had struck with crushing clarity. Myths had teeth. And claws. Suddenly, the sensors picked up a faint trail of energy, almost imperceptible, leading deeper into uncharted space. It pulsed in the same rhythm as the human ship's signal. Thaler's eyes narrowed. "They're moving. Following a course. But why?" Vecca frowned. Could they be hunting something, or someone? Thaler's mind flashed to the possible answers, each darker than the last. "Or maybe they're looking for us," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. The fleet's command contacted them again, urgency in every pulse of the signal. "Report. What happened? Explain your sudden return." Thaler hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "We encountered a human warship. It's unlike anything we've seen. It attacked us, but it did not destroy us completely. It's intelligent, tactical, beyond our understanding." The fleet commanders were silent. No one had believed humans could still exist, let alone command such deadly vessels. Whispers of panic spread across the channels. "Are you saying the humans are alive? That they're a threat?" Thaler's voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed his concern. "Not a threat to the weak, but to those who underestimate them. Yes. This is not a simple encounter. It is a warning. The galaxy has forgotten the danger humans bring. We have not." Vecca adjusted the scanners. "Commander, the trail leads to the Perseus sector. No recorded human activity there. Ever. Yet it's the same signal pattern." Thaler's mind raced. "We must warn the Council. They need to understand that humans are not extinct. Not gone. And they are more dangerous than any species we have faced. As the Zephyr limped toward known space, the crew felt an uneasy mix of fear and awe. The human warship was more than a relic. It was a predator, a force that could alter the balance of power in the galaxy. Every star they passed seemed smaller, insignificant, in the shadow of the threat they had glimpsed. Then, without warning, the ship's scanners went wild. The human warship had returned. It appeared ahead of them, silent, massive, its hull reflecting the stars like a dark mirror. This time, there was no hesitation. Its pulse accelerated, sharper, louder, like a heartbeat of doom echoing across the void. Thaler's claws clenched the railing. Brace for impact. Prepare all systems. They are not giving us time to think. The crew scrambled, activating every defensive mechanism, but their efforts seemed futile against something beyond understanding. The human warship moved with precision, as if anticipating every action before it happened. Energy waves rippled through space, destabilizing the Zephyr's shields. The room shook violently, panels sparking, alarms screaming. Vecca's voice was urgent, almost panicked. "Commander, they're not firing, yet. But every pulse, every movement, is a threat." Thaler took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. "They are testing us, learning us. We are prey, and they are the hunters." Suddenly, the human ship vanished again, leaving only a faint trail behind. The crew of the Zephyr stared in disbelief, their minds struggling to comprehend the speed, the strategy, the sheer scale of what they had faced. Thaler's voice broke the silence. "The galaxy is no longer safe. Not while humans remain." A tense silence filled the control room as the Zephyr limped onward, systems damaged, hearts pounding. Every crew member knew the truth. They had survived a brush with extinction itself. And somewhere out there, the humans were moving, watching, waiting. The warning had been given. The terror had begun. The Zephyr barely held together as it limped through the black emptiness of space. Alarms still screamed, and the crew moved like shadows, shaken but alive. Commander Thaler stood at the front, tentacles coiled tightly, eyes scanning every flicker on the screens. He could feel it in his core. Something in the void was hunting, learning, calculating. Lieutenant Vecca's multi-eyed gaze was fixed on the scanners. "Commander, the energy readings, they're not random. That human warship is tracking us, following our movements. It's like it knows every escape route we have before we choose it." Thaler's heart sank. Humans had been considered myths, extinct legends. Entire species had dismissed them. And yet, here they were, alive, strategic, and terrifying. The Zephyr was no longer exploring space. It had become a hunted vessel, and the hunters were far older, smarter, and deadlier than anyone could imagine. A sudden ping on the console made Vecca freeze. "Commander, there's a distress call coming from the Perseus station. But, it's not ours. It's centuries old." Thaler leaned in. The signal carried the unmistakable pattern of human technology, ancient yet perfect. "Put it through," he ordered. The message was fragmented, crackling like ghosts through the void. "Warning, human warship, do not approach, end of line," then silence. The crew exchanged worried glances. That station had been abandoned for centuries, yet the humans were moving near it now. The warning was clear, anything in their path was at risk. Thaler gritted his teeth. "They are not just back, they are hunting. And whatever they hunt, the galaxy will pay for it." Suddenly, the Zephyr shuddered violently. The human warship appeared again, this time not in the distance but practically on top of them. Its massive hull reflected starlight like a dark, living mirror. And it moved with terrifying precision, cutting through space as if it had no mass at all. Vecca's claws gripped the console. "Commander, shields are at 50%. Weapons systems offline in one quadrant. They're testing us again." Thaler's voice was calm, but every fiber of him trembled. "Stay focused. They want us to panic. Do not give them the satisfaction." The human warship pulsed again. Energy waves rippled outward, shaking the Zephyr and knocking panels loose. Crew members stumbled, alarms blaring as the ship groaned. The pulse was more than energy, it was intimidation, a reminder that they were powerless against something beyond understanding. Then, without warning, the warship vanished. Silence fell over the Zephyr, eerie and complete. The crew, breathing heavily, exchanged glances filled with fear and awe. Vecca whispered, almost to herself, "They didn't destroy us, yet." Why? Thaler's tentacles twitched. They are not just weapons. They are hunters. They observe, they calculate, and then they strike when the moment is perfect. We survived because they allowed it. But next time, we may not be so lucky. The Zephyr drifted for a moment, repairing minor systems, recalibrating sensors. And then, the scanners picked up something new, a fleet of alien vessels, moving cautiously, unaware of the threat lurking nearby. Thaler's eyes narrowed. They will not survive this encounter. Not without intervention. The humans do not discriminate, they remove threats before they exist. Vecca swallowed hard. "Commander, do we warn them?" Thaler's voice was steady, sharp. "We must. If the humans are back, the galaxy's balance has already shifted. Anyone in their path will be destroyed. It's only a matter of time." Suddenly, a flash of light streaked past the Zephyr. The human warship had struck again, not directly, but a clear demonstration of power. A distant asteroid field exploded in a brilliant wave of energy, shaking the nearby fleet of alien ships. "Commander!" Vecca yelled. "They just wiped out a squadron. No warning. Nothing left." Thaler's tentacles tightened around the railing. He looked at the stars ahead and realized the truth. The humans were not back to negotiate, to communicate, or to play politics. They were back for dominance. And every species, every fleet, every colony would feel their presence soon. The Zephyr turned, damaged but moving. The galaxy was no longer safe, and the encounter had just begun. Somewhere in the darkness, the human warship waited, silent, patient, unstoppable. Thaler's voice carried through the bridge, calm yet filled with gravity. "Prepare to report this to the High Council. Humanity is not gone, and we have awakened a force the galaxy was never ready for." As the ship drifted onward, the crew knew the encounter was far from over. Humans had returned, and terror followed in their wake. The galaxy would never forget this day. The galaxy's High Council chamber was never quiet. Dozens of alien species argued daily, their voices echoing like storms through the grand hall. But that day, silence ruled the room. Every council member leaned forward as Commander Thaler stood in the center, his uniform torn, his eyes dark with fear. "I repeat," Thaler said slowly, each word heavy. "We encountered a human warship. It attacked us. It's real. And it's still out there." A ripple of shock spread through the chamber. The words human warship were like a curse, a myth dragged into reality. The ancient stories spoke of humans as destroyers, warriors who never surrendered. Many believed those were just old tales to keep young fleets cautious. But Thaler's damaged ship and haunted face were proof they were wrong. An insectoid counselor clicked nervously. "You expect us to believe that humans have returned? Their species vanished thousands of cycles ago." Thaler's tentacles curled tightly. "I saw it with my own eyes. It didn't just attack, it studied us. It's far more advanced than any fleet in this chamber. If you don't prepare now, this council will not survive what's coming." Whispers turned into shouts. Some demanded proof. Others wanted to send fleets to investigate. A few, the oldest and wisest, simply sat in silence. They remembered the wars of the past, when humanity's fleets had burned empires to ash. Suddenly, the chamber's lights flickered. Then came the sound, a slow, deep pulse, echoing through the comm systems. Tum, tum, tum. The same pulse Thaler had heard in deep space. A communications officer rushed in, panic in his eyes. "Council members. A massive energy signature just appeared near the Perseus sector. Long-range satellites are failing one by one. Something is coming. The room froze. The pulse grew louder. Thaler didn't need to look at the data. He already knew. "It's them," he whispered. "The humans have arrived." Meanwhile, at the edge of Perseus sector, a fleet of 70 alien warships formed a defensive wall. Their ships were large, advanced, and heavily armed. Generals barked orders, shields were raised, and weapons charged. The fleet had been sent to investigate the strange signals. None of them truly believed in the human myths. They thought this was just another anomaly. They were wrong. The first human warship appeared silently, cutting through space like a shadow. It didn't roar. It didn't glow. It simply was there. Massive. Silent. Deadly. Admiral Korvac of the alien fleet stared at the giant vessel on his view screen. What kind of ship is that?" he muttered. The ship was old, but its presence made their most advanced warships look like toys. "Open channels," Korvac ordered. "Let's talk before we fight." But the human ship didn't respond. Then a second ship appeared. Then a third. Then 5 more. Within minutes, an entire formation of human warships surrounded the alien fleet like wolves encircling prey. They moved with perfect coordination, no wasted motion, no hesitation. Every alien captain watching realized, too late, that this was not a random encounter. This was a trap. "Admiral!" a young officer shouted. "They've locked onto us. All ships. Incoming energy spikes." The human fleet didn't fire beams or missiles. Instead, their ships released silent waves of force. The alien shields collapsed like paper in a storm. One by one, alien ships blinked off the scanners as if they had never existed. There were no explosions, no wreckage, just silence. Clean. Precise. Terrifying. Korvac's voice shook. "Retreat. All ships retreat now." But there was nowhere to run. The human ships moved faster than their sensors could track. Any vessel that tried to escape was cut off instantly, surrounded, and erased. It wasn't a battle. It was a demonstration. Within 11 minutes, the alien fleet of 70 ships was gone. Not destroyed in fire, simply erased. Back in the council chamber, the real-time feed cut to black. Gasps filled the room. Some council members screamed. Others simply sat frozen, understanding that everything they thought they knew had just changed. Thaler spoke quietly, his voice trembling. "You see now. They're not a rumor. They're not weak. Humanity has returned, and they are showing us what they can do." One elder counselor finally spoke, his voice grave. This is not an attack. It is a warning. The humans are saying, "We are here." And somewhere in the darkness, beyond the dying satellites, more human ships stirred. The galaxy had just taken its first step into a storm it might not survive. Panic swept across the galaxy like wildfire. After the annihilation of the 70-ship fleet, no one could ignore the truth anymore. The humans had returned, and they were not hiding. Their ships appeared and vanished across sectors without warning, leaving only silence and fear behind. Entire star systems began broadcasting emergency alerts. Civilian traffic stopped. Trade routes shut down. In the dark council chambers, leaders argued endlessly. "They're provoking us," one shouted. "They're testing us," another hissed. "No," Thaler interrupted, his voice calm but sharp. "They're preparing us." The room fell silent. Thaler stepped forward. His face was marked by exhaustion and fear, but his voice carried weight. "Humans don't attack without reason. They strike when they're ready. This is not war yet. This is them showing us their strength. And if we don't unite now, no fleet in this galaxy will survive their next move." The council had never agreed on anything quickly. Different species had old rivalries, ancient grudges. But the footage of the human fleet erasing 70 ships in minutes left no space for debate. Within hours, emergency alliances were signed. Massive fleets were assembled from every corner of the galaxy. Hundreds of warships gathered near the edge of the Perseus sector, where the first human appearances had been reported. It was the largest armada the galaxy had built in centuries. Admiral Korvac, one of the few survivors from a distant outpost, stood on the command deck of the flagship Vornax Pride. Around him, dozens of screens displayed tactical formations. "If the humans come," he said to his officers, "they will not find us unprepared." But deep down, he wasn't sure preparation would matter. Meanwhile, far away in the void, inside a massive human flagship, things were silent. The ship was ancient, its hull black as night, edges sharp like blades. Deep inside, a single human figure stood before a wide viewing panel. His uniform bore no insignia. His eyes were cold, thoughtful, and calculating. "Transmission intercepted," a robotic voice said behind him. The man nodded slowly. "They're gathering their fleets," he said softly. His voice was calm, too calm. "Good. Let them." The ship's AI projected a hologram of the galactic armada forming. A faint smile crossed the man's face. "They think numbers will save them," he whispered. "They've forgotten what we are." He turned to the AI. "Initiate Phase 2. A low hum filled the ship. Across the galaxy, hidden human vessels powered up, revealing their positions like ghosts stepping out of shadows. Some had been buried inside asteroid belts. Others had been drifting in stealth mode near uninhabited systems. They had been waiting for centuries. Back at the Allied fleet, sensors began to ping wildly. "Multiple contacts appearing," an officer yelled. "Where? How many?" Admiral Korvac demanded. The officer's face went pale. "Everywhere." One by one, human warships appeared, surrounding the galactic fleet from all directions. Their arrival was silent, sudden, and terrifyingly precise. They didn't decloak, they simply appeared, like shadows returning to light. "Admiral, they've boxed us in. Raise shields. Prepare all weapons." The fleet lit up with energy, shields flaring, cannons charging. Hundreds of alien ships faced off against dozens of human vessels. But the humans moved like a single creature, smooth, controlled, deadly. The first strike came without warning. A wave of energy, invisible but devastating, swept through the front lines of the alien fleet. Entire cruisers lost power instantly, drifting helplessly as their systems shut down. No shots fired. No explosions. Just silence and darkness. Korvac gritted his teeth. "All ships, fire at will." The void erupted with energy beams and plasma fire. Hundreds of weapons targeted the human fleet, but the beams bent, scattered, and faded before they even hit. The humans' defenses absorbed or redirected every attack like water hitting a wall. Then, the humans responded. A single pulse from the lead human flagship rippled through space. 10 alien capital ships vanished. Just gone, no debris, no escape pods. A clean, terrifying erasure. On every bridge, panic took hold. Commanders shouted, crews scrambled, systems overloaded. The humans didn't chase individuals. They targeted command ships first, cutting off leadership with surgical precision. Korvac watched helplessly as the fleet began to collapse. This isn't a battle," he whispered. "This is execution." Far away, in the council chamber, Thaler watched the real-time feed in horror. One council member whispered, "How can they be this strong? How did we forget them?" Thaler's eyes narrowed. "Because they wanted us to forget. And now, they're reminding us." The feed showed the human fleet moving closer to the galactic armada's core. No hesitation. No mercy. The largest alliance fleet in galactic history was breaking apart like sand under a wave. And the humans were just getting started. The galactic armada was collapsing. Ships burned silently in the void, drifting like broken toys. Human warships moved among the chaos with terrifying precision, striking command vessels, cutting through defenses like blades through water. No one could stop them. Admiral Korvac stood on the bridge of his flagship, gripping the rail tightly. His crew moved frantically, shouting over alarms, but deep down, they all knew the truth. This wasn't a fight. It was domination. "Admiral!" an officer yelled. "We've lost communication with 30% of the fleet. Half our ships are powerless. They're just shutting us down." Korvac's jaw tightened. "Keep fighting. Don't let them control the field." But even as he spoke, another pulse rippled from the lead human flagship. More alien cruisers vanished without a trace. The humans weren't simply winning, they were demonstrating. Showing the galaxy exactly how helpless they were. Meanwhile, far from the battle, the Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Holographic screens showed the destruction live. Council members shouted over one another, demanding plans, answers, miracles. Thaler stood in the middle of it all, his tentacles curled tightly. He had seen this before. The precision, the cold efficiency, the silence. This wasn't random. This was strategy. "They're not just attacking," he said loudly, cutting through the noise. "They're sending a message. We are watching a calculated display. They want us to understand something before the real war begins." The room fell silent. His words hung heavy in the air. "What message?" someone asked nervously. Thaler's eyes narrowed. "That the galaxy has lived in peace only because they allowed it." Back at the battlefield, sensors suddenly detected something strange. The human fleet stopped. Every ship froze in perfect formation, surrounding the crippled alien armada. But they didn't fire. They didn't move. They just waited. Korvac frowned. "Why aren't they finishing us?" The answer came seconds later. A massive holographic transmission filled every alien ship simultaneously. It wasn't static. It wasn't alien. It was clear. A human figure appeared, tall, calm, wearing a dark uniform. His voice was steady, powerful, and cold. "We warned the stars once. You forgot." Every bridge across the fleet went silent. "You built your empires on the edges of our silence. You thought us gone, extinct. But humanity does not vanish. We endure. We wait. And when the galaxy forgets, we return to remind it." Korvac stared at the screen, speechless. This wasn't the voice of a conqueror blinded by rage. This was the voice of something old, patient, and terrifyingly confident. This was not war. The human continued. This was a demonstration. The balance of power has shifted. Your fleets are broken. Your defenses are nothing. You will remember us. The transmission ended. For a moment, the void was quiet. Then, the human ships moved as one, turning away from the shattered armada. Within seconds, they vanished into the darkness, leaving only wreckage behind. On Korvac's flagship, the crew stared in disbelief. "They left us," an officer whispered. Korvac's hands trembled. "No. They spared us. They want us to talk. To spread the message." He looked at the silent stars and understood the chilling truth. The humans could have erased the entire fleet. But they chose not to. This was never about destroying an enemy. It was about control. Back at the council, silence filled the chamber. Every member had seen the human transmission. Every species understood the meaning. "They didn't conquer us," one counselor whispered. "No," Thaler replied softly. "They reminded us who they are." Panic and fear began to spread. Some argued for surrender. Others shouted for building new weapons. But Thaler knew it was already too late. The humans didn't need to invade worlds. They had already planted fear in every corner of the galaxy. And fear was a weapon more powerful than any fleet. Far away, hidden in the void, the human flagship drifted silently. Inside, the human commander stood before a glowing map of the galaxy. Dozens of red markers appeared across star systems. He watched them one by one. "Phase 2 complete," the AI reported. The man nodded slowly. Good. Let them fear. Let them remember. His cold gaze settled on the galactic capital star. Next. Phase 3. The lights dimmed. The ship turned. And somewhere in the darkness, humanity prepared its next move. The galaxy was silent. Days had passed since the human fleet vanished into the void, leaving behind shattered ships and terrified governments. Every star system whispered the same question: what will they do next? The Galactic Council gathered again, but this time there was no shouting. No loud arguments. Only fear. The human message had changed everything. Empires that once boasted of strength now hid their fleets near homeworlds. Trade routes were empty. Even pirates had vanished. Thaler stood in the center of the council chamber, feeling the weight of history pressing down. "They are not waiting for us to attack," he said slowly. "They are already moving." Quietly. Counselors turned toward him, uneasy. "How do you know?" one asked. Thaler lowered his voice. "Because this is what they always did. Long ago, before their disappearance, humanity never struck first in public. They weakened enemies from inside. They let fear spread until their opponents collapsed on their own." Meanwhile, far away, deep in the void, the human flagship floated silently among dark stars. Inside, the human commander watched as dozens of red markers on the galactic map started blinking. "Phase 3 is underway," the AI reported calmly. On every blinking star system, something was happening. Communications blackouts, mysterious power failures, sudden rebellions, unknown sabotage. But no human ships were seen. No armies landed. The galaxy was tearing itself apart from the inside, as if invisible hands were pulling the strings. In one outer rim empire, panic spread as their defense grid shut down without warning. Thousands of ships floated powerless. Their leader demanded answers. None came. On another world, a massive AI network suddenly began broadcasting the same human message. "We warned the stars once. You forgot." People screamed. Governments fell. Fleets turned against each other. It was not war. It was collapse. Controlled, precise collapse. Back in the council chamber, emergency alerts lit up the walls. One by one, star systems were going dark. "They're not attacking," a counselor shouted. "The systems are falling apart by themselves." Thaler nodded grimly. "Exactly. The humans planted something during their long silence. Triggers, viruses, old sleeper agents. I don't know what. But this was their plan from the start. We were too busy watching their fleet to notice what they were really doing." The council chamber shook as panic erupted again. Some shouted for surrender, others for retaliation, but none had a real plan. At that moment, a massive hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. The human commander stood there again, calm and cold. This time, his face was closer, clearer. "We are not invaders," he said. "We are the reminder. You built your power on our silence. Now, the silence ends." The chamber went completely still. "Your fleets are broken. Your systems are collapsing. Your unity was a lie. We did not come to conquer your stars. We came to reclaim our place among them. Remember this moment, for it is not the beginning of war. It is the end of your illusion." The hologram faded, leaving behind only fear. In the darkness of space, the human fleet began to reappear, system by system. Thousands of warships emerged from stealth, surrounding key trade hubs, power stations, and capital worlds. But they did not fire. They simply waited, like predators watching their prey surrender. Alien leaders across the galaxy sent desperate transmissions, offering peace, alliances, even tribute. But humanity gave no response. Korvac, standing on his damaged flagship, watched as the stars filled with human ships. His voice was low. "They've already won, without fighting." Far away, aboard the human flagship, the commander stood before the galaxy map. Every blinking red light slowly turned white, one by one, signaling control. The AI spoke softly, The galaxy remembers. The commander's eyes hardened. Then it's time they learn. The ship turned toward the galactic center. The entire fleet followed. Like a tidal wave of silent steel, humanity began its march, not to destroy, but to take back what was once theirs. And across the stars, every civilization held its breath. Because the age of human silence was over.